Morning. You are listening to the Alex Feuz Show, bringing you all of the news, sports debates, interviews with people you all care about, and so much more. Every single weekday on Dean College Power 88 Radio, broadcasting live from 7 to 8 a.m. And now, here's your host, Alex Feuz.
Good morning, everyone. So joining us live on the phone lines, as promised, is ESPN NFL reporter Mr. Yates. The first question for you again. You really got your start in this career right about 15 minutes down the road from Dean College. Do you miss covering the NFL during this time of year here in New England?
Well, if you're specifically asking if I miss covering the Patriots, then sure, yeah, there are days that I certainly do. But I'm still covering the NFL every single day, and that's a big point of pride for me. And I learned a lot during my time spending time around Gillette Stadium most every day. That was always fun for me. There's a lot to be learned, not just from covering a team on a daily basis, but also from great people, and nobody better than that. Than Mike Reese, who I consider a good friend and a mentor, and as good as there is in the NFL world of beat coverage, because nobody has the pulse of a team better than Mike Reese does with the New England Patriots.
Well, one story that's kind of been ongoing the last week, and a lot of people are talking about it, is Antonio Brown. And I just had to ask, what is your initial thoughts on the whole Antonio Brown saga with the New England Patriots and just Antonio Brown in general?
Yeah, it's disappointing for Antonio Brown, and there seems to be, some in ways you could probably interpret Antonio Brown's actions as perhaps a call for attention. It's disappointing. Antonio Brown has unique ability on the field. On the field, Antonio Brown is about as difficult of a player to cover as there is in the NFL. But frankly, the NFL is not a right, it's a privilege. And Antonio Brown had to comport himself and carry himself and act in a way commensurate with the privilege that it is to play in the NFL off the field, and he did not do so. And ultimately, you must be a person of character and integrity to continue to play in the NFL. And his actions off the field, if many of these accusations are proven true, there's just no place for it in the world of professional sports or really anywhere.
We'll switch gears now, and again, one of your big things, and this kind of goes into my next question. You kind of got your start in the career working in scouting for football, and do you feel like kind of covering fantasy football is it can almost do both of those jobs, scouting for fantasy football and then covering fantasy football in a whole?
Yeah, I certainly think that there are elements of my work in covering fantasy football that are comparable to scouting. And at the end of the day, we do rely on statistics in fantasy football because there are some times where good real football does not correlate with good fantasy football, and vice versa. But one thing that watching these players play helps you do is understand what is real and what is nothing more than perhaps just good fortune. So as we're watching these players on Sunday and we see that a guy maybe had bad luck or maybe a guy had very good luck, you can scout them to see what they really are as opposed to just relying upon the box score. So I think that my scouting background is something that always stays with me and always will stay with me going forward.
Do you think Patriot fans should be worried about Julian Edelman this upcoming Sunday?
I would say, listen, I think it's anytime a player's hurt, it's always something you have to keep your eye on. The early returns seem to suggest that he'll be able to play on Sunday. The team has gone from fairly deep to not quite as deep at wide receiver in a short period of time. So one thing to keep an eye on is whether the team makes a roster move at any point before Sunday to add a receiver to the team, which feels unlikely to me. That being said, Edelman is one tough guy. He is certainly a determined player, a guy that's played through a lot in the past, a guy that has shown his toughness for many, many years. So at this point, I don't necessarily believe that there's any reason to doubt that he will play on Sunday against the Bills, or what really shapes up to be a pretty critical game for the Patriots.
What about Sony Michel? He's struggled early on in the 3 games so far. Do you feel like Patriot fans or even fantasy football fans, if they have Sony Michel on their team, do you think, like, when is the week that they need to start looking to see if they still need to have Sony Michel on their team?
Yeah, well, you're going to keep him on your team because he plays for a terrific offense. Patriots obviously have been, the hallmark of their team this year has not just been their offense; it's been their balance. But for so many years, you've known the Patriots' offense to be efficient and to be high octane and to be prolific. But sure, there are some concerns. Less than 2.5 yards per carry. Although we did find the end zone in week 1 and then again in week 3. Or week 2, excuse me, has not been the prettiest start to the season for Sony Michel. Bill Belichick sort of acknowledged that, he's got areas where he can improve, but the team can help him as well. So I think there's something to be said for the running game not always being just how a running back performs, but also how the offensive line performs to help that running back. And I think the Patriots understand it's an 11-man operation and that there's more meat on the bone for all of them to chase in the running game.
How important is this upcoming game for the Patriots? You talked about it earlier on in this interview. Do you feel like the Bills can give the Patriots a run for their money this Sunday?
Yeah, I think the Bills are a very good team. I think the Bills are well coached. I think they're disciplined. I think they're incredibly tough on defense. I think the atmosphere is going to be truly unique on Sunday up there in Western New York. I think the fans will be about as engaged and inspired and excited as you'll see in almost any NFL game, especially during the month of September, where we know there's still so much season left. But I think the Patriots ultimately have the mettle, have the balance, they have the toughness to go up there and win this game on Sunday. So I do expect them to end up winning this game. That being said, I don't think this is a game that you just show up, expect to play less than your best, and walk away with a win. This will be a win that no matter what the score is, if the Patriots can win on Sunday, it'll be hard-fought and well-earned.
Phil, this is my favorite segment on the show. I call it the Fast 5 Quick Round. It's 5 quick questions, and you have however long to take to answer them. So first question for you is your favorite Bill Belichick story.
I don't know if I have a single story, Alex. I just would say that I have a lot of appreciation for Bill Belichick's consistency every single day and how for 20 years now he has remained the same person over and over and over again. And I think that sort of reliability is something that can be appreciated and respected and revered in this world of sports in which things change so fast.
If you got a call from any NFL team to play a game of football, what position would you play?
Probably quarterback or maybe punter or kicker, so I didn't have to get hit. I don't think I'd be able to handle it very well myself.
One person you would love to host your own podcast with. It could be a player, another reporter, anyone.
Oh, that's a good question. A player or a reporter, my own podcast with. Well, first of all, I just would say I'm grateful to do it with Matthew and Stefania every single day, so I consider it kind of a dream as it is, doing what I do. But there's some really funny and insightful athletes out there. I think Von Miller has got a lot of personality and a lot of charisma. He'd be a fun one to work with. That much is for sure. Yeah,
I've had Stefania on my show before, and she's great at what she does, one of the best in the business. Favorite story you've covered in your career?
Wow, they sort of all blend. A lot of them do blend together. But I'd say maybe not so much a story, but an event, because I always enjoy covering the draft every year. There's just so much anticipation, and being down in Nashville for the first night of the draft this past year, that was really a special moment for me. And I would say that that's right up there for my favorite thing that I cover on an annual basis, the NFL draft. There's so much interest, and there's so much hope, and there's so much positivity surrounding each team during that draft. I really enjoy that.
Then the last one for this segment, it's a tough one, and you're just talking about the draft. Most underrated player you've covered?
Most underrated player that I've covered? It's a good question as well. Let's see. It's probably got to be someone like an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, because those guys are just generally not appreciated as much as so many other players on their roster. I'm trying to think back to my days with the Patriots and some of the guys that were covered and came through there. I thought Dan Connolly was always a really underappreciated offensive lineman. Steady, reliable, a guy that you knew you were going to get out of him every single day. And on one occasion was an elite kick returner as well. So Dan Connolly, the guard for the Patriots, certainly comes to mind.
Field, my last question for you on the show this morning is you have a genuine love for the game of football. So what continues to drive your passion and love for the game?
It's the ultimate team sport, and you cannot crush your way through it by the strength of just one player. It's got to be a collaborative effort, and I will never take that for granted, and I will always appreciate how football is not about one person, one individual, one thought. It is about 53 men working together on Sunday, plus a coaching staff, a scouting staff, and infrastructure around the organization. That, to me, will always be the unique part about the game of football.
Phil, I want to say thanks again for taking the time out of your morning to come on the show this morning. And where can the Feuz Nation and listeners to this show follow you on Twitter and listen to your podcast you talked about earlier?
Yeah, right there. Go to @FieldYates on Twitter. That'll give you all the information you need right there.
Perfect. Thanks again, Phil, for calling in this morning.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, everyone, you just heard it from NFL reporter for ESPN, Mr. Field Yates. He's one of the best in the business at what he does. Got to start right down the road from where we are here at Dean, and he's always fun to talk with, especially early on. He sounds so energetic at 7 a.m. I mean, so do I. I mean, I guess we both had a coffee this morning or something, but wow. It's always great starting the morning talking with Field. He's one of the best in the business. And now joining me live in the studio, Austin Dakuda. Austin will have our train, traffic, and weather update. So, Austin, how's it looking out there?
Thank you, Alex. So today, the traffic is a little bit heavier than yesterday. I-90 East near Newton is experiencing heavy traffic and is in a standstill in some places. On Route 24 North heading to Boston, there is heavy congestion between exit 17 and the Braintree split. Traffic is at a crawl as you head towards the tunnel and onto the Zachem in Boston. However, traffic in the Franklin area is pretty clear. Now onto the trains today. Due to an equipment move, the 6:03 train departing from Forge Park is running about 15 minutes behind. The 6:35 train from Forge Park is also delayed between 10 and 20 minutes. And a reminder to all weekend commuters heading to the city, the train service is replaced by free buses between Forge Park and 495 due to track maintenance. And now here's a look at today's weather. It is currently 55 degrees here in Franklin, Massachusetts. It will reach a high of 79 today at 2 p.m., and there is a chance of showers between 5 and 8 p.m. today. Tonight's low will reach 52 degrees. We'll send it back to Alex.
Well, thanks, Austin. And breaking news, I guess that's really been recovering since Monday afternoon and into the evening is when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a formal impeachment into President Donald Trump, and it's all coming after Trump asked Ukraine leader to look into Joe Biden, who's a presidential candidate running in 2020, and this is the latest on the President Donald Trump and the House impeachment inquiry. And a rough transcript released by the White House shows President Donald Trump pressing the leader of Ukraine to look into Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. The July 25th phone call is now at the center of the House Democrats' impeachment probe. Trump repeatedly prodded the president of the Ukraine and to work with the U.S. Attorney General William Barr and Rudy Giuliani, Trump's personal lawyer. And at one point, the conversation said, and Trump said, and I quote, "I would like for you to do us a favor." And then the initial response highlights the deep divide between the two parties. Democrats say the call amounted to a shakedown of a foreign leader, while Trump and the vast majority of Republicans are dismissing it as a quote-unquote nothing call. And this is something that I know Austin and I were talking about yesterday morning as well as in the afternoon, and it seems like every single minute there is a new aspect to this story that everyone is talking about. And this is an interesting story, and this is the reason why it's interesting to me. And I think, Austin, I'll send it back to you after this and see if you agree, but this is coming at an interesting time. About a year from now, this is when President Donald Trump and whoever the Democratic Party picks, this is when 2020. It's not that far away when the new presidential campaign is here. And this is a story that's going into the campaign for Donald Trump. This is a story that he's going to have to answer to. And it's already a tough one because every single Democrat is now coming under the attack. Donald Trump already feels that the news is not covering him correctly. You know, he tweeted in all caps yesterday after the story that it quote unquote ruined his day and that it's presidential harassment. That's what he's tweeting. So he's already on the defense, and this is something that he's done in the past with any story that's attacked him, where he's felt attacked. And this is when he says the blame game, and this is what's happening right now.
Yeah, and like you said, Alex, it is really interesting timing. I have to agree because, as you said, in a year from now, we'll be talking about who's going to be our next president or if Donald Trump will be reelected. And this is just a major distraction for the Trump campaign, as we talked about yesterday, because now Trump is going to have to answer to the Democrats who are, continuing to question him, and he's going to have to respond to questions about this whole scandal, if you call it that. And, it's just like a major distraction for Trump. And even for Joe Biden, it's a distraction as well, too, because now his name is being dragged into this as, Trump, heavily tried to get the Ukrainian president to investigate Biden. So, there's a response from both sides is the, Republicans are still going to be able to say, well, why aren't we investigating Joe Biden then? And, the Democrats are saying this is just ridiculous. And as we saw Nancy Pelosi bring up, the formal, probe for impeachment. So it's really interesting, the timing of it and, the details of it, how the responses from both sides are trying to, I guess you could say, like Trump said, attack somebody else on either side.
It's definitely interesting to see and listen to both sides of this because it almost reminds me of the Clinton and Trump fight, where, it was the other way around when it was the Trump and Hillary debates back in 2016, where that's what everyone was talking about. The Clinton emails, the server, and how there's rumors that Clinton is talking with other, and then you also have the Russia, Donald Trump and the Russians as well, and how the Trump and Putin relationship and what's that looking like. And now, Trump is now heard talking with the Ukraine leader about looking into Joe Biden. And, I have a couple questions. Well, first, why? What did potentially Joe Biden do? And then it's also like, but why is Donald Trump asking the Ukraine leader to look into Joe Biden when he could have done it differently here? You know what I mean? So it's interesting to hear and see the relationship between Donald Trump and the Ukraine president as well.
Yeah, it seems like so just outlandish to have that relationship, especially when you have a lot of the country who doesn't trust Donald Trump because of the whole Russia scandal. So it's really interesting timing for this to come out because now you might be ruining more people's trust in him as president. And especially with the whole Russia scandal from last election, now you have Ukraine getting involved. And, again, this story has so many different sides to it, including the entire whistleblower portion of it. And, we're expected to hear more details about that today.
It's almost like there's so many different layers to this story that we could sit here and talk about up until the 8 o'clock hour. And we have a lot to talk about today. This is one of the topics. We talked to an NFL reporter, Phil Yates, early on to start the show. And then I know we'll go into our top 5 news headlines in about 5 minutes. And there's so much to talk about today, as well as some train traffic and weather updates later on today. But this is a topic that I feel like is not being talked about enough around the area, and especially the young people of the world, because every single person on this college campus here at Dean and everyone listening to hopefully this show driving into wherever you're going this morning is everyone's going to be asked to vote next year. And when you have stories like these where it's politics, that's what it is. And I feel like that's why some people get so turned off by politics, is because do we really know the truth at the end of the day? Things get said, things get done, stories get buried, stories get pushed to the top that maybe shouldn't be pushed at the top, and things are lied and false and sure, sometimes fake news. I feel like the fake news slogan is something that's false. I feel like fake news is not really something that some people believe fake news is, if that makes sense. So it's definitely interesting, and I feel like more people should pay attention to the news every single day because these things matter. I know we talked about the ice melting and global warming yesterday. These things are real. These things are here in the world that we live in today, and it's something that everyone should be concerned about at a certain extent, because this is stuff that is going to affect us down the line. Sure, maybe not today. On September 26th, it's a gorgeous Thursday, and I know you just said the weather, and it's going to be 80 degrees today. And it might not affect us today. It might not be a direct effect on us tomorrow. But what's it look like 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line? Sure, most of us are still going to be here. And what's the world looking like then? And sometimes you have to remove your selfishness out of your mind and think, what is the future to this country and to the world? And it's something that people really need to be concerned about. And not really concerned, but aware of.
Right, especially when, you have people who don't have the right to vote, and then the people who do don't end up using their vote. So it's really important that everyone gets out there on election day to vote in 2020 and even vote in their local elections, because you have people who don't have the right to vote yet and would really enjoy that right. And, then you have the people who, don't vote and then complain about the outcome. So you do have a chance to, make your voice heard, even if you don't think it matters. If 100 people say, oh, it doesn't matter, then they go and vote. It does matter at the end of the day, and it can't add up. So it's very important to vote.
One comment that you just said about, you have the people that complain, and then they didn't vote. And it's just like, it's almost like if you write reviews for a job, right? And you trash on a restaurant, but you never ate at the restaurant. You just heard about it. You heard that, that dish wasn't very good. How do you know? You didn't have it. But you're going to write a review and trash the restaurant? No, that's not how things work. You can't say that movie was awful, it was boring, I'm not going to go see it. How do you know? You never saw it. Maybe you would be surprised by how much you enjoyed the movie. It's that simple. You can't write a review if you never ate there, watched the movie, watched the TV show, anything.
Yeah, you got to do your homework, and you got to get out there and make an attempt to try and learn something before you vote. And don't just make an educated guess, or don't even just go out there and waste a vote and just write somebody in. It should be something that people are educated on and feel comfortable with doing.
Do you feel like there are people on this campus here at Dean that truly care about this kind of stuff, or do you feel like we need to make more awareness about what's going on in the news in our country today?
I think there is a good amount of people who care, but I also think there's a good amount of people who go through their day without even wondering at all about politics or the updated stories. It's almost like it would help if we had something that would bring it right to the students, whether it's over the radio in the CAF every single day, or just feeding the students this information. I think it's a lot of it's up to the student to go and learn about, a lot of the current events on their own. A lot of classes do a great job of covering it here, but at the same time, it is a lot of, independent work on the student to go out and, cover their own events or figuring out kind of what's happening in the world, which, no one's going to hold your hand and help you figure out what's happening. But at the same time, there is some room for us to, help get kids thinking and the students thinking about what's happening.
And again, if you're just joining us, Alex Feuz alongside Austin Dakuda this morning, bringing you up until the 8 o'clock hour here on Power 88 Radio, broadcasting live from Dean College. And wow, we have a big show planned out for you guys. I know Austin will be bringing you all your train traffic and weather updates in just 1 minute, and then we also have our song of the day. I know we got to get some sound effects in there for that. It's a new segment I just made on the spot yesterday. And then we also got the top 5 news headlines of the day coming up in about 15 minutes, and I'm really excited about it. It's one of my favorite segments on this show, and boy, do we have some interesting news stories for you today. And then to finish out the show, we'll be talking about some MLB news, and I'll be giving my World Series prediction. Okay, I know we talked about it yesterday, and I said no. I know you gave your prediction yesterday, Austin. You want to remind the listeners who you chose?
Yeah, I went with the Astros beating the Dodgers in the World Series.
Well, I have my World Series prediction that is going to surprise a lot of people.
Looking forward to it.
That is coming up at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. And now I'll send it over to Austin for some traffic and weather and train updates. Austin, how's it looking out there?
So, Alex, it's actually looking pretty rough this morning. Again, it's I-90 East near Newton is still experiencing heavy traffic as they merge onto I-90 East. There's a lot of standstill traffic, and it's not getting any better at this hour. Route 24 North is actually more congested than most mornings, as traffic is now backed up all the way to exit 16 on 24 North, all the way to the Braintree split. Traffic is at a crawl as you head towards the tunnel and onto the Zachem, as it is most mornings. And traffic in the Franklin area is pretty clear, so there should be no problems on your commute to school. Now, the trains are actually at a delay still. The 6:35 train this morning was on a delay from Forge Park, about 15 minutes. And now the 7:06 train is now delayed between 10 and 20 minutes. So if you are commuting, you should plan ahead for that. And a reminder to all weekend commuters heading to Boston, train service is replaced by free buses between Forge Park, 495, and Reedville. Now, finally, Alex, here's a look at today's weather. It is currently a beautiful 55 degrees here in Franklin, Mass. It'll reach a high of 79 degrees and sunny at 2 p.m. However, there is a chance of showers between 5 and 8 p.m., so if you're leaving the house, bring a jacket for tonight. And tonight's low will reach 52 degrees, Alex.
Well, thank you, Austin, and we're going to send it to one of the new segments on this show is the Song of the Day. And for fans listening and listeners, this is going to be a fun one. It's kind of a throwback, almost a throwback Thursday. Oh, look what I did there. Anyways, here all week, literally. And so now, Song of the Day is Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. Here we go. Well, welcome back to the Alex Feuz Show. Once again, Alex, along with Austin. And you just heard the Song of the Day is Living on a Prayer by Mr. Bon Jovi. What a great song, Austin. I know you remember that song from when you were driving in the car with your dad going to preschool, right?
Yeah, it's a long time ago, but I still remember that song. It's a classic.
Every time I hear it, I am reminded of... I was so lucky to be able to go to a playoff football game. My first NFL game was this past winter in January. I went to the Patriots-Chargers game in the first round of the playoffs, I believe, for the NFL with my dad. And Bon Jovi was live at Gillette Stadium, and this is a song that they play almost every single home game at Gillette, and it was so cool. Everyone, even the Charger fans were singing Living on a Prayer, and then they showed Bon Jovi on the big camera there, and he was singing along, and it was a great moment. It's almost like it was freezing, but you almost had chills.
Yeah, it's just one of those songs that wherever it's played, everyone just kind of bursts out into singing it.
So this is my favorite segment on the show now, Austin. It's the top 5 news headlines of the day. Wow, and there's some crazy ones that we're going to be talking about. But to kick things off, former manager of the DoD Aerospace Threat Program, he said UFOs are real. And this is something that is interesting. Again, we had the Area 51 raid last week, and he said... Former high-level officials and scientists with deep experience who have always remained in the shadows came forward on one platform, and these insiders have a long-standing connections to the government agencies, which may have programs investigating unidentified aerial phenomena. The team includes a 25-year veteran of the CIA's operation, and he says, "We believe there are discoveries within our reach that will revolutionize the human experience." And he says that UFOs are real.
I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it, Alex. I mean, it's just such a lot of people say that it's real, and you have conspiracy theories about it, and photographs allegedly. But until I can see it in person, I'm a little bit skeptical of it still.
It says 2 F-18s approached the 4 aviators. They see the object has no wings or exhaust. It is a white oblong, some 40 feet long and perhaps 12 feet thick. And then one pilot pursues the craft while his wingman stays high. And the pilots are astonished to see the object suddenly reorbit itself toward the approaching F-18. Do you honestly, you don't believe in this? You don't think UFOs are real? Are you kidding me?
I just have a hard time believing it. There's so many stories about it, and until I can see one and actually see photographs of it, we have so much technology. I'm too skeptical of it, and until I can see it in person. So.
Well, you're that kind of person. Do you not believe in ghosts? You have to see the ghosts to believe in ghosts?
No, that's different than UFOs. I mean, ghosts are different. I mean, I've seen plenty of TV shows, and movies. And
I thought for a second you were going to say I've
science.
seen plenty of ghosts.
No, no, but I've seen plenty of other stuff that's convinced me on that. So until I can, be convinced on UFOs and aliens. And
What about Bigfoot? Do you believe in Bigfoot?
absolutely not.
No.
No.
You kidding me?
You believe in Bigfoot?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah, I've seen the movies.
Oh, Bigfoot is so far fetched. I'll never believe that one.
Oh, come on. Bigfoot's real. How do you know?
How do you know he's real?
I know for a fact I've seen the movies.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Austin will be bringing you the fourth headline of the day.
So we have one coming out in New York today as Governor Andrew Cuomo and Food Network star Sandra Lee have announced they are breaking up after more than a decade of dating. The former couple announced their split with a joint statement issued on Wednesday afternoon. They first started dating in 2005 but have never married. For many years, Lee played the role of New York's First Lady, appearing beside Cuomo at official functions but largely staying out of politics in general. But after more than a decade of dating, the couple has officially announced their split.
And this is a story that kind of touches home to me because, again, the state capital of Albany, New York is where I'm from. And, this is a story that's interesting. And it kind of just came out of nowhere. Again, Governor Cuomo and Lee, again, she stayed out of the politics for the most part. She was only really kind of just there by her side. But it's definitely something to keep an interest to in a story to see if it develops in any more ways. So that's an interesting one. I mean, you always see it all the time, though. Especially they weren't married, so they were kind of just dating for the last 10 years. But it's definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, it's such a long time to just date, and she's, like we said, she's been in the spotlight a lot, right next to him in all the political functions and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how, the governor can kind of fill that void.
So we talked about yesterday. This is another one that's interesting and kind of scary. We talked about it yesterday about how you can now ask Alexa for a job at McDonald's. And now this is one where Alexa is now in your ear and on your finger. So Amazon wants Alexa everywhere. They say the online shopping giant said Wednesday that it will soon start selling wireless earbuds, finger rings, and prescription eyeglasses with its Alexa voice built in. So the goal is get Alexa outside the home and wherever customers are. It says you can have Alexa with you 24/7, and you can also have Google and Amazon with you 24/7.
No, thank you. I'll pass on that. It's just, it's such an invasion of privacy in ways. I mean, they say, oh, it's, it's very secure and all that stuff, but it's weird when you say something to Alexa like, oh, or you're just talking and you say, oh, man, good Phillies game today, and then you go on to Amazon and 10 minutes later you see, like a promotion for a Phillies sports gear, and it's happened a couple of times to me, and I've heard stories of it happening to people a lot. They're just talking about, buying whatever for their dog, and then 2 minutes later they go on Amazon and there's dog toys. It's just such an interesting, technology, but at the same time, I don't know if I would want to take it everywhere with me.
Yeah, with the Echo Buds, the earphones that they're selling now, it costs $130, and users can order an Uber ride or find the nearest coffee shop as they stroll down the street. And after this year, Whole Foods shoppers, as everyone, the news broke a couple months ago that Amazon bought Whole Foods, and now Amazon owns Whole Foods. So now shoppers wearing the black buds can ask Alexa what aisle they can find canned tomatoes or other groceries. And also you can now order Uber rides from earphones as well with the Alexa earbuds. But like you were saying, it's going to be interesting, and it is an invasion of privacy, because let's say I had the earbuds and you didn't, and you were asking me questions, and then I'm hearing a response to whatever question that you just asked.
Yeah, that is an interesting way to think about it. But again, the idea with all this technology is convenience, and that's why the companies continue to make different products and try and update technology, is a convenience factor. But we're going to now move into our second to last news headline of the day, and this one comes from the MLB, as the Twins have clinched the AL Central with a win over the Tigers and the Cleveland Indians loss. Now, this is the first time the Minnesota Twins have won the division since 2010, and it's only their second postseason appearance since then. The Twins are 98-60 and have their highest victory total since 1970, which is really interesting that the Twins haven't had 98 wins since 1970. That's such a long time to, not be such a top-tier team. But with the Twins, they won 5-1 over the Tigers yesterday. On the night, the stars were Randy Dobnak, Luis Arez, and Eddie Rosario. Rosario and Arez homered, and Dobnak allowed one hit in 6 sparkling innings, says the headline. Twins are excited to get back to the postseason, led by manager Rocco Baldelli, who is actually from Rhode Island and a former Red Sox player.
Yeah, it's definitely an awesome story to see the Twins finally win their American League Central once again. And it's going to be, I'm excited and intrigued to see first who's in the wild card in the American League. Is it going to be the Tampa Bay Rays, the Cleveland Indians? I think the Athletics are a lock in there, but definitely interesting to see for the wild card, and then also in the playoffs who the Twins will be playing. But what people aren't talking about, and there's a reason why, is because obviously the best teams are talking about more than the worst teams. But the Detroit Tigers, a team that the Twins defeated last night, the Tigers are 46-111. So the Tigers are assured of baseball's worst record and the number 1 pick in next year's MLB draft. So that's the good news, is that they get a first-round draft pick next year. But it's definitely something that, if you look at the team, you go back almost 8-10 years, Miguel Cabrera Shore is still on the Tigers, and Justin Verlander was on the Tigers, and J.D. Martinez. And these are top guys in baseball that they just couldn't pay anymore.
Yeah, and part of it is the whole Dave Dombrowski effect, too. We see that in Detroit, as Dombrowski went to Detroit, got them to compete. And as we talked about a lot yesterday, the Red Sox are experiencing the Dombrowski effect. And, he goes and he gets you a contender for a couple years, and that's what he did. He brought in Scherzer, who was a little bit unexpected to become a star, but did. He had David Price in there. And he kept bringing in pieces to try and make something happen. But like you said, they just couldn't afford to re-sign a lot of these guys. And at the end of the day, it came down to having no prospects in the farm system for this Tigers team, due to bringing in these top-tier talents. And, you're seeing the effect of it now with 111 losses, which is just mind-blowing to, I went to a Tigers game this year, too, and just to see a lot of the fans not even know who's even on the field for their team because they're just plugging guys in who are really just, AA players on most teams. And it's just kind of, the MLB does wonder, we talked about this, why attendance is down. And part of the reason is because teams really realize that they're not going to be good. So why even put out decent talent on the field? We're just going to play our AAA guys, get a worse record, and get a top pick.
And this is something that, again, in the MLB, where at the end of the day, it's a lot of money to go to a baseball game. You talk about a ticket at Fenway. I think before the Red Sox were eliminated, you could probably get a bleacher ticket for $20-$30 with all the fees and everything if you get it on an app. If you go to the box office, you probably get it for $20-$25. And then so you get there, and then we are in luxury and have the train within 2 minutes and walking distance down the street. But if you didn't have that and you had to drive, it's about $40, $50, $60 to park your car. Or I won't do a horrible Boston accent, just say that phrase, park your car. Anyways, another bad joke. But still, so now you're talking $25, $30 for the ticket, $40, $50, $60 to park your car. And at that point, you're just walking into the park. You're just walking into the stadium, wherever you are. Now you have to talk about the $6, $7 bottled waters, the $10 hot dogs, the merchandise if you go with your family that the kids want or that you want. So it's an investment. If one person, you could probably spend $90 to $100 for every game that you go to for one person, let alone if you're with your family. Now it's almost $200-$300 investment. And is it worth it? Sure, I could see the argument to if you're going to a Dodgers game, an Astros game, a Yankee game, a Twins, Indians, Athletics, Tampa Bay Rays even. A good team that has a shot to be good and possibly win the World Series. But are you going to spend that much money going to a Tigers game, a Miami Marlins game, a Boston Red Sox game at this point? The last series for the Boston Red Sox is the Baltimore Orioles. Probably the top third worst team in the MLB. So is it worth the investment at the end of the day? The answer is no. It's simple. You're not going to go to an MLB game and spend, $100 to go see two teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. I guess for the fan experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, then you have that one-time experience, which satisfies a lot of people. They'll go one time and then can be done with it. But you're asking fans to be repeat customers to come back to your stadium, and it just doesn't work for people because, like you said, they have to, commit spending $90 a person sometimes, where you might get a $50 ticket, and then everyone needs a water, everyone needs something to eat, and then you have that. I mean, anywhere close to Fenway Park is $60 to park, or even a little bit further away within 10 minutes of walking is still $40. And the train's a little bit better, but train tickets can still be $5 a person, which can be, not as, cheap for some families who are trying to go to the game. And it's just so expensive. And especially when, you have all the fees on the different apps now, and even buying them straight from the box office can be inconvenient for people. But it's just, you're asking fans, come to our, our ballpark, watch our team who might lose the game, probably is going to lose the game a lot of times. Especially when you have, like you said, Marlins fans, Tigers fans, Orioles fans. It just doesn't make sense. Why would they want to go see a product that's just not good?
And that's the main thing, and it's simple where, when you look at fan attendance, and sure, the good teams don't have that issue, but some days they do. If it's the Yankees, Orioles, who cares at that point? I mean, the Yankees own the Orioles all season long. If you look back at the stats, it's insane to look at those stats. Oh my gosh, they were hitting like 10 home runs a night, it seemed. But anyways, the last news headline of the day, and this is the fun one. It's National Pancake Day. So, awesome, happy Pancake Day. I know yesterday was lobster. And maybe this combination sounds better, pancake and ice cream.
I'll still pass on that one. But
really? You would not have pancake ice cream? That sounds good.
Maybe I'd give it a try if it was one of those Ben & Jerry's inventions, but I don't know. I'd probably have to pass on it. Maybe with a little bit of maple syrup mixed with like vanilla ice cream, I guess. Something,
Now you're talking. Would you ever put ice cream on your pancake?
Depends on the ice cream.
Are you kidding me? The answer is yes.
I don't know if it's straight up yes. I'd
Why
say.
not?
I wouldn't want mint chocolate chip ice cream on a pancake with syrup.
Oh, that would be good.
I don't think so.
Well, you don't put syrup on at that point.
Well, yeah, it's just like a fluffy, like bread with ice cream.
It's sweet bread.
It works with cookies and ice cream together.
Well, yes, obviously.
That's
Come
good,
on.
but not pancakes.
What about cake? You like cake and ice cream?
I don't like cake though.
You don't like cake?
No, I like ice cream cake. That's good. Now we're talking ice cream cake.
Why don't you like cake?
I just don't. It's just one of those things I just never really. I like the frosting on cake, but not the actual cake itself. Right.
But so, once again, September 26th is National Pancake Day. It sets up a tall stack of this syrup goodness to celebrate. Set the table, mix up the batter, and heat up the griddle because the butter is ready to melt and the flapjacks are delicious. Also known as Johnny Cakes, griddle cakes, or hot cakes, this batter-made breakfast item dates back more than 30,000 years. In fact, it may be the oldest breakfast food in history. I did not know that.
I didn't either. That's interesting.
30,000 years? Wow. You learn something new every day. It became a traditional part of Fat Tuesday. Celebrations would feast before fasting, and they still do. The thin cakes can be rolled and filled with fruit and other fillings. Usually, though, they're stacked and drizzled with flavored syrup. Add fruit, nuts, or whipped topping too. Whipped cream on pancakes is something that not a lot of people do, and it's definitely something that's very good. Yeah, so the food holidays date back. This specific holiday dates back to 2005, and it started as Lumberjack Day. And Marianne Ways and Colleen Venable saw an excuse to eat pancakes and waffles with friends, so they made Lumberjack Day. Since it was 1 week after, listen to this. Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yeah. There's an official holiday for Talk Like a Pirate Day. Anyways, and that the theme had worn out, eating lots of pancakes like a lumberjack seemed a better holiday than ever. So don't forget to celebrate National Pancake Day. And actually, on campus today is for dinner, they're serving pancakes. So they're serving pancakes for dinner tonight.
Very excited for that. Who doesn't like pancakes? I mean, you can also get free pancakes at IHOP today, but nice and convenient in the campus center for dinner. Free pancakes there, too.
Oh,
it's a dining plan, but
sure. So I mean, pancakes for dinner. I mean, why not, right? It's National Pancake Day, so you might as well go all out, right?
Right. I mean, I'll be there.
I'll probably be there around 2. So to wrap up the 5th edition of the show, we're already 5 shows in. It's insane. And then tomorrow we have another big show, and stay tuned for who's going to be on. I'll tell you after this, but it's time for World Series predictions. Again, the playoffs for the MLB are starting very soon, and Austin made his prediction: the Houston Astros over the LA Dodgers. And, you know, if that comes to be true, what an embarrassment for the LA Dodgers. You know, that's utter failure to make the World Series 3 years in a row and lose every single year. That's utter failure.
Yeah, they're just consistently the same team that just doesn't perform on the big stage. It's like, it's very similar. I mean, before they were making the World Series, they were losing in the playoffs every year. Then Kershaw started to figure it out a little bit. But, you know, just to be embarrassed 3 times in a row in potentially, we're talking, in the World Series is just not acceptable at all. And, you know, you don't want to be one of those players who's like, well, I made it to 3 World Series. You know, we lost all 3 in a row. That'd be terrible. I mean, if you have a team like the Dodgers, it's hard to bounce back. You got to think from 3 times in a row. If they make it there, I mean, they're a very, very talented team, but nothing's guaranteed, you know, obviously in the MLB.
And that's the thing. Nothing is guaranteed, and it's just simple fact that this is something that you can't really be happy about if you are a fan of the Dodgers. Because, sure, if, let's say, the Miami Marlins make the World Series, you're proud of that. You know, sure, we didn't win, but we made the World Series. But when you're a Dodgers fan and you've made the World Series, now if they make it this year, that'd be the 3rd straight year. You've already done that. And fans are going to be like, well, did you win? No. Then you can't hold that fact in people's faces. And it means nothing at this point. If you make the World Series and you don't win. It's simple.
Yeah, it's fine if you're the Dodgers, you know, you haven't been to the playoffs in a while, and it's like, well, you know, we made the World Series, come back the next year and even better. But they're just the same team. Like I said, it's, you know, make the World Series, lose, make the World Series, lose, and it's just consistent the last 5 years with them being bounced from the playoffs every single year. Very similar to the Washington Nationals, who just get bounced in the first round of the playoffs every year, and you get a lot of fans who don't even bother watching the Nationals in the playoffs. And you have a lot of Dodgers fans who are very passionate, but, you know, they're going to start to grow very frustrated depending on how this postseason goes. And, you know, change could end up being imminent if, you know, the Dodgers don't end up succeeding in the postseason this year.
So, the end of this show, I wanted to throw out my World Series predictions, right? So, 2 things. I feel at this point, the way that the Yankees have been playing the last week is they're going to go into the playoffs still a favorite, but I think at this point, they have to be talked about one of the underdogs. And, you know, we only have about a minute left, so I'll make it quick, but the way the season has gone with the Yankees, where every single person that going into the season was talked about that was going to be a huge factor to them getting into the playoffs and them getting deep into the playoffs, we're missing for a very long time. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy if you're a Yankee fan in the month of October. And you look at the pitching and see how Luis Severino does. Dellin Betances just won't be there. You know, he tore his Achilles. And so now you're going to have to go through the whole playoffs without one of the best relievers in all of baseball. But then it goes also into effect where pitching matters in the playoffs more than in the regular season. And at the end of the day, the Yankees have the best bullpen in all of baseball. At the end of the day, though, I think I have to pick the Yankees defeating the Dodgers. It's just, fandom removed. Growing up in New York, I grew up a Yankee fan, but take the fandom out. As a baseball fan, I want to see a Yankees and Dodgers World Series. We saw the matchup earlier on in the season, and that was a fake matchup because they were wearing the player uniforms. It was player weekend, and I want to see a Yankee-Dodger matchup with the pinstripes and the Dodger blue uniforms. It's simple. So my World Series prediction are the Yankees defeating the Dodgers. I'll throw it in there in 7 games. Why not? So that's my World Series prediction. We'll see if it's right or not. I mean, we'll be every day here talking about the playoffs every single morning, and that's going to be exciting. But to wrap up the show, I want to say thank you, Austin, for joining me live in the studio this morning. And again, thanks to Feuz Yates for kicking the show off this morning. It's about 7:55. We're going to wrap it up, and tomorrow morning is another show that you can't miss. At 7:35, we will be having Coach Steve Terrell, the head football coach for the Dean College football team, joining us live in studio at 7:35 tomorrow morning. You can't miss it. We have another big show planned out for you tomorrow. We'll be talking the past few football games for them and the struggles he's gone through and how he's going to attack Saturday's homecoming matchup in a different way. We'll talk to Steve Terrell tomorrow morning. Once again, thank you for listening to another episode of the show today. Again, along with Austin, I'm Alex Feuz signing off for this morning. Once again, thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.